Hey everyone, welcome back to the Great Connect podcast. Today I'm really excited to share with you a topic that I think most people have heard about by this point because this topic continues to pop in and out of the spotlight, especially this time of year. Intermittent fasting. I've heard lots of different opinions on intermittent fasting, from hell no to hell yes. And what I love most about this conversation today is the fact that there isn't a yes or no answer to this question. Instead, it is a knowledge base for you to explore whether intermittent fasting could be a good tool for you to use in your health journey. There is no such thing as one perfect solution for every single person on this planet. You yourself are unique. And so my conversation today with Jim Jackson dives into why should we care or understand intermittent fasting? And based on that knowledge, is it something that you think would be a good tool for you? There's a lot of information in this episode and a lot of wisdom we hope you'll take home with you so that you can make the best decision for you in your journey and whether or not intermittent fasting is for you. Jump into this conversation with Jim and I. Hi, Jim. Welcome
Hi,
to
Carrie.
the Great Connect.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to be having this conversation with you today. I think there's this time of year, a lot of these topics end up being very loud in the social and internet sphere. And today I'm going to ask you to help us learn a little bit more about a lot of different things, but most importantly, intermittent fasting and what is it? How do we even start to incorporate it? Why do we care?
Yep.
All of those different things. So thank you for joining me and helping us kind of dig into this topic.
No problem at all. I mean, thank you for inviting me on. It's a privilege to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's start at the foundation. What is intermittent fasting?
So intermittent fasting is, in simple terms, you have periods of time, or what we call windows, of eating and not eating. And to be honest with you, everyone does it already, because when you sleep, you have a period of not eating, which is fasting, and that's why they call breakfast break fast. And so it's intermittent fasting in this sense is more about extending that window out and giving your body a chance to not have to deal with digesting food. And as a result of that, it can then do other things, which we'll learn about. The one thing that I really want to kind of help people with here is, because I think some people might think that fasting is kind of like this trendy or extreme biohacking type of thing. And really, when you think about it, it's not. It's actually part of normal human behavior. But you have to kind of change the context of us humans, the way we live, because the way we live now is not the way that we have lived up till this point. You know, you have to kind of think about, put yourself into how we would have lived as a wild human almost, and think about what our eating habits would have been then. And then you can kind of understand that, or you can appreciate that we probably wouldn't have had regimented meals at 3 times a day or grazing all day long. And I hope that can help people realise that actually this is not some sort of risky thing or dangerous thing, and actually is something that the body wants and needs. Actually, like these mechanisms, the health benefits you get are not by accident. It's the body doing what it wants to do, and it's a natural thing. If that makes any sense.
It does, right? The image that's popping into my head as you're saying that is like wild humans, but still CVS and grocery stores on the corner. Like food wasn't necessarily readily available to put in our mouths and eat instantaneously the way that we have it now, where I can go buy anything from anywhere around the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's new. That's really new, quite frankly.
Really new, yeah. I mean, you don't even have to leave your house now. You can just tap your phone a few times and it comes to your door. I mean, it's so convenient now. But that really wasn't the case, you know, up until recent times. A lot of the time you had to actually work quite hard to go and get your food, whether that was hunting or gathering or a bit of both. The our relationship with food has completely changed. It's completely different to how we've lived. And, that is the vast majority of our existence on Earth. We've had to do that. It's only very, very recently that we're kind of fortunate to live in this world. But, I think we forget about where we've come from because it's all we know, understand.
Sure. I love that frame of thought that's almost like a psychological adjustment for the human mind of the body has really led the way from a food perspective, and we've shifted it into a mental desire or perhaps even emotional. I have questions and thoughts about that later, but I'd love for you to expand on kind of, okay, as we've moved into learning and almost incorporating food as a mental thought rather than a physical thought, what is that? Where does that come from? How do we start to unwind that or start to unpack that in a way that helps us recognize what is truly the body speaking for food rather than the mind speaking for food?
Yeah, I love this. So I very much doubt that many people these days have experienced true hunger. So when you say I'm hungry, I don't think it's real hunger. I mean, hunger is where the body is close to being depleted of something, whether it's energy or nutrients or whatever. And that hunger will be very intense. Whereas I think today, when we say we're hungry, it's probably because of a couple of reasons. And one of them is routine, because the body is used to having food at certain times of day. So your brain's thinking, oh, okay, lunch is coming up. That sends a signal to your body. Your body is getting ready to digest this food. And you're kind of ready for it. And then with intermittent fasting, when you go into that stage, that's when it can become difficult. But once you go past it, it then goes away again. So it can't be true hunger because that hunger feeling would stay there. And the other one is emotional eating, or the dopamine effect of when you have a snack, you get a good feeling from it. So I think they're the things of the modern day. These foods, unfortunately, foods are engineered to be more palatable and to make you want to come back for more, because the companies that make them want you to buy more of their stuff, right? And make you want to. So unfortunately, it's kind of the odds are stacked against us a little bit in that sense. But that's not true hunger. That's just emotional hunger. So I think that's again something that is, I try and encourage people to be mindful of. When you feel hungry, question it. Is it actually hunger, or is it something else? And once you get past that, if you go back to, if you can distract yourself for long enough, that normally goes away at bosses. And that's when you know that it's not true hunger. It's just something else. It's just another signal that actually you might not need to listen to.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the dopamine and the food and the getting that hit. We're kind of inundated at this moment in time with dopamine hits. And so it feels very, sadly, natural to me that, of course, we would initially respond to that dopamine hit because we're getting it from so many mechanisms at this point that we need to relearn what is true chemical desires versus these like peaks and valleys that we're kind of constantly moving through.
Yeah, definitely. And there's many social media, and as you say, there's so much of it. And the unfortunate thing is that it's all by design as well. And people just unaware of it as well. That's the thing. So a lot of it is becoming aware of it to then be able to try and manage it. But when you're not even aware of it, it's a sad place to be, unfortunately. But it's the kind of world we live in. And I think that what you're trying to do is trying to help people to be true to themselves and true to being a human, but living in a modern world, and that's kind of like what you're trying to do from the content I see you put out, and it's also kind of what I do more from a food point of view, but it's a similar sort of thing.
Yeah. I it's such a fun and interesting topic to me to try to figure out how to work within this world that like is kind of working against me, but I don't want to see it that way. Instead, how do I like just understand enough to figure out how to move myself through it? And I think food is such an important component in that. And there's a lot of noise around food, right?
Yeah,
There's lots of opinions, lots of voices.
massively.
And so I love we'll go into like the next step, because I think I love your approach in that way, right? That it's about you understanding your body and what's true for you in those moments. But let's start with, okay, so there is a lot of noise around food in general, a lot of intermittent fasting is good, bad, this one's good, this amount is bad, girls it's good, not good, this time, right? Like there's just a lot in there. So give me the lay of the land of how do we start to navigate exploring what intermittent fasting could look like for us, and what might be signals of this is a yes, or this is just hard and it's a new habit and I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. So there is, you're right, that there is so much information, and that's one of the big problems of this world, is that you can find confirmation for each side of the story. I think that, as I say, what I try to encourage people to do is use their brains and figure it out for themselves, because we are blessed with very intelligent brains, and we don't actually need too much brain power to kind of figure out roughly where we'd be. So as I said to you before, that if we take ourselves out of the context of today and put ourselves into the context of being a wild human, I think it becomes quite clear that we wouldn't eat constantly. So you can stop worrying about that. You don't need your constant feeding. I've seen it before with friends, where we might be, I don't know what we'd do, I can't remember the scenario now, but I've seen it where we might be doing something and we go past a feeding stage, lunch, and then we come out the other side and we're still doing that thing, and all of a sudden they go, oh my god, I haven't had lunch, and they panic, and they're like, oh my god, I've got to get something to eat, even though they're not necessarily hungry, but it's just kind of in our heads. So that's the first thing I would say, is that it's totally normal. The human body is designed to have these periods of not eating. Then to try and introduce it into your life is just take it easy. Like there's no pressure to like, don't jump straight into like one meal a day, or this big. Just take that window that you're already doing, which is when you're sleeping. You can sort of stop eating a little bit earlier in the night before, and you can start extending that window out in the morning, to the point where you're only, you could literally cut out breakfast altogether. But just do it in increments, whatever you're comfortable with, and listen to your body. Understand that hunger pangs, are they actually hunger, or are they, as I said before, just where you're used to a routine and your body's expecting the food and it's not getting it? You could probably work through that. And then again, with emotional eating, if it's an emotional thing, like you feel like you need something just because you're bored, or you need a little bit of a dopamine hit, try something like going for a walk, or doing, some press ups or some lunges or something to just distract your brain, just to get you past that. Obviously, if you start feeling really bad, like you might get like maybe feeling a bit ill or nauseous or headaches or something like that, then, as I say, listen to your body, because your body is, it is very good at telling you when things are wrong. So if there is, like, if you're really not feeling good, don't beat yourself up about it. Have a snack and then try again. Maybe that day, maybe another day. But that's how I would suggest to do it, is just take your time. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just feel your way through it and work up slowly.
Yeah. My own personal experience with intermittent fasting has been a little bit of that, and I slip out of it and then I slip back into it. Well, slip. I wish it were that easy. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm really not going to have that tiny sliver of chocolate before I go to bed tonight. And like, that's my only goal. Just don't have the last thing that's like calling to me for whatever reason. It's like, I'm not worried about the whole fasting window. I'm not worried about how far I go tomorrow. I'm just going to resist the habit that I've somehow built of having this bit of chocolate before I go to bed. Right. And it's just micro shifts rather than, okay, holding myself to this rigid schedule. I love that approach. And it feels more accessible in those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And when don't get me wrong, I admire the determination of some people. If they're like, I want to, I'm going to do this. I'm only going to have a 4-hour window. I admire that, but you're probably setting yourself up for a bit of a foul because it is difficult. It is difficult when you get to that point of, okay, I'm hungry. I think I'm hungry, or so. Yeah, take it easy, and as you say, if you can cut out that little bit of chocolate in the evening, take that as a win. If you manage to do that consistently for a while, then take that as a win, and give yourself a pat on the back and move on to the next.
Yeah. And for me personally, I felt like every time I do one of those wins and celebrate it and make those micro shifts, it makes it easier to make the next one, right? Because I've almost harnessed my own willpower in a way of like, oh, right, I can do this. It's going to be hard for a little bit, but look, I did do this one. And it gives my brain that experience of it's possible, it's safe, all those different pieces. I agree on the like short window, right? Because anytime I've tried to hold myself to really tight containers, inevitably, I start almost obsessively thinking about the fact that I cannot do something rather than reinforcing that I can. And that feels like it's working against me. Is there like a psychological barrier in that way of going too deep, too fast?
Potentially. I think it's very individual, to be honest with you. Some people are very good at managing their thoughts and emotions than others. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that one really, other than it can be difficult at times. It depends on yourself and just trying to manage your own thoughts and feeling your way through it.
Sure. Okay, so if somebody's thinking about how to extend, how far do they have to extend? Are there general windows? Like, does something happen in the body at certain windows? How do we start to ground ourselves into what am I working towards and listening to whether that's the right rhythm for me or not?
Yeah. Okay. So there are. If you've looked into intermittent fasting, it can become a little bit overwhelming because you do get ratios. So the ratios are actually quite straightforward. So they equal the 24 hours in the day. So the first one would be perhaps a 12-12. So you're doing 12 hours of not eating, and then 12 hours of eating. And when you say eating, you're not constantly eating that 12 hours. That's just the window when you can eat. So and then you extend it up. It's usually in sort of 2-hour increments from there. So it'd be 14, 10, 16, 8, 18, 18, 6, and right the way up until usually like one meal a day, or OMAD as they call it. And I think it depends. If you can get it to like a 16-8, then that's where you're going to really start seeing the benefits. So a 16-8 and above, if you can do one meal a day, some people do it. It is quite hard to do. But again, it's one of those things that once you get into that routine, I have done it for short periods of time. And once you get into it, it's actually not too bad. It's that psychological thing of going past the point where you would normally have a meal. But your brain does adapt quite quickly. So I would say that work up through the windows a couple of hours at a time. Maybe do a week at 12-12, and then work up to. And then I would say your goal would be a 16-8.
Okay.
Or a 16-8 is kind of like the minimum. I think if you can get to that consistently, then that's when you're going to start seeing the health benefits that you get from intermittent fasting.
Okay. So let's dig into that. What are the health benefits? Why are we doing this? What am I going to start to feel, and what's going to start shifting in my body at that 16-8?
Yeah, so this is what it's all about, right? So why would we put ourselves through this without for no reason at all? So
Yeah.
the good stuff. So in the first few days to the first sort of few weeks, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find, it depends as well what you generally eat. So if you're kind of more carb heavy with your foods, the first thing that's gonna happen is your body's gonna shift over to using fat for fuel. So once the carbohydrates that gets turned into glucose is depleted, your body then shifts over to using fat. When you go over to using fat, you slip into what we call ketosis, right? Which is where the ketogenic diet comes from. And I don't know if you've experienced ketosis, but it's a great feeling. It really is. It's like coffee, but with like strong coffee, but without the jitters. It's like you get more energy, mental clarity. It's a really nice feeling, and it feels right as well. You kind of when you first experience it, you're like, oh my god, this is how humans are supposed to feel, So that's the kind of first thing, which is amazing, and it really kind of helps you to push on as well once you get into that. The one thing I would say is that if your body's not used to using fat for fuel, you may actually get what we call keto flu, because you're basically going into ketosis, and if your body's not used to that, it kind of like struggles with that transition a little bit. So you then can potentially get keto flu. So you might actually start feeling worse than good initially. But as long as you understand that is keto flu, and again, just feel your way through it. If you feel too bad, have a snack, then try again later. But once you get past that, as I say, it's a great feeling. You will notice as well in the sort of next sort of week or so that your hunger pangs, you start to get more control of those hunger pangs. You don't get the cravings as much as possible. You're kind of training your brain that you're not getting food at that time, that you're going to be using food to get your dopamine hit, and so that all becomes a little bit easier.
Okay.
Other things in the short term is that if you have sort of bloating and things like that, you'll probably notice that will go away. Your digestion when you are eating will probably improve as well. It's a bit like a detox, really. It's the ultimate detox, really. Detox is normally like reducing your food to like, I don't know, something like cucumber or something, just one type of food, so that gives your body a rest in digesting lots of foods. Well, obviously, if you're fasting, you're not digesting anything, so it's almost like a bit of a detox, really. So your digestion will generally improve, and you'll get less gut discomfort if you are suffering with that sort of thing. So then we move on to the long term, which is when it gets really kind of interesting. So your body will, especially if you struggle with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, your body will really start to get your insulin under control and your blood sugar levels under control, which is a really good thing. There's a lot of people that have type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, that have successfully used intermittent fasting to put it into remission, as well as like the keto based diet or low carb diet as well. So that starts to really sort of take control. Your body starts taking control of that. Weight regulation, you might start seeing that you can lose a bit of weight in this phase as well. It makes sense, right? If you're using fat for fuel, then you're burning fat, so you start losing fat.
Yeah.
And then the other good thing is that that metabolic flexibility. So if you are, as I say, if your body's struggled a little bit with transitioning from using carbohydrates to using fat, that will happen naturally. And that's what your body should be. That's what our bodies are designed to be able to do, to be able to use both fuels. But in our body, with the kind of high carbs and all the junk food and things like that, we're just bombarding our bodies with carbs, and our bodies don't get a chance to digest or to use up the fat to switch over to fat as fuel. So that then becomes more efficient. Then the really cool bit is when the body then has a chance. It's not digesting food, so then it has the opportunity to be able to repair cells and also get rid of dead cells. Repairing cells is autophagy, and then getting rid of old cells is apoptosis. It makes me sound more intelligent than I actually am. I don't know the process, but I know that happens. And as a result of that, you'll get better energy production, reduced inflammation. You increase longevity. You age slower. There are studies that have proven that you actually age slower as well, which kind of makes sense, because if you're getting rid of old cells and repairing cells, then it helps with that. And then the bit for me is brain function, because I've struggled with a bit of brain function. I had chronic fatigue syndrome when sort of back in my 30s, and so what intermittent fasting did, it helped me with like my cognitive resilience, brain stress and brain fog, which I suffered with really, really badly. So all of a sudden your brain switches on as well. So how amazing is that? And then the last thing I think I'll say is that then your appetite regulation is just so much more dialed in. You'll kind of, at that point, you'll really understand what we're saying here in terms of these signals are, they're sort of throwing us off. They're not true hunger signals. So when you go to have that first meal, for example, you actually get to a point where you're like, well, I could eat this. I am hungry. I could consume this and enjoy it. But actually, if it wasn't there, I could actually do without it as well. So you're then in control of eating, and eating is not in control of you at that point. So loads of benefits there, and there are loads more as well. But I think they're the main ones, and hopefully that's enough to get people to be like, okay, like this is worth having a go. And it makes sense. As I said before, it's a natural process. It's what the body is designed to do. So it makes sense that these benefits are there.
Yeah. I love those. I mean, there's enough lists there that I know most people in this world are like, yes, please, less brain fog, or better digestion, or anti-aging, right? Like longevity, like all those things are just enough for people to be curious and explore it, which is great. But I adore how you keep bringing it back to, this is a normal thing for your body to do, because we're at this moment in history where we're almost having to reclaim like how our body functions, and be okay with that, because there has been so much kind of piled on top of that no, you want food, you need to be eating all the time. I can even remember a certain point in my life where it was like, and I see this pop up every once in a while, which is like, just eat small things like every couple of hours, right? And
often,
yes. And I don't want to dismiss it. I mean, maybe for some people it's the right thing, but the reality, and I could say, okay, well, if I were out in the world and I was wild and the only thing I had accessible was berries, and I just ate berries whenever I could find them, okay, I can see and appreciate and understand that might be true, right? But also it's so important to like kind of bring ourselves back to that, we didn't have food readily accessible all the time. Our body is built to fuel itself. I want to pause for a moment here to share a really special offering from the Holistic Health Hub. It's called the Light Me Up Retreat, and it's happening live and in person this March in Sonoma, a weekend designed to support women navigating midlife and beyond. Let me be clear, this is not about escaping your life. It's about reconnecting with yourself within it through yoga, strength training, hormone and nutrition education, breathwork, sound healing, and real conversations about what's happening in your body. And it all takes place on a beautiful ranch surrounded by redwoods, nourishing food, and a community of women who truly get it. If your body's been asking for deeper support, the Light Me Up retreat is your invitation to honor that fully. Cherry on top, Nikki and Susanna are offering a special discount. You can find the details in the description of this episode. To learn more and save your spot, head to the Holistic Health Hub and search for the Light Me Up retreat. I actually want to bring it back to a thing you said earlier, if you will, of we used to actually have to go do something to get food, physically exert ourselves.
Yep.
So I'm curious, your thoughts, your research, your experience over creating some level of physical barrier for ourselves to actually get food and then ingest food. And I'm just curious, like, is that actually good for us to say, you know what, I need to do 10 push-ups before I get to eat the thing, because that might just even to get the body moving and thinking the way it's supposed to, rather than kind of its old system. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought, and it is something that I have thought about in the past, and I don't know what data there is on this, or but it would make sense, wouldn't it? That I think that if when we were wild humans, we would have spent probably most of our time, as survival. It would have been not get eaten and find stuff to eat, that, and that would have been our two main goals in life, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And it would have been a process to go and get that food. The one thing that I think I would say about it is that I'm not sure if expelling energy, maybe that is a thing, but the other thing is just the relationship with the food. If you've had to go out, and so if you do something physical and you get to the end of it, and especially if you do, I don't know if you do like one of these obstacle courses or something like that, and you get to the end of it and you feel amazing because you've achieved something. You've put the effort in, and normally you do it with some people as well, so a group thing, and it feels amazing. Like, I kind of imagine that it would have been more like that with food. If you're going out and you're gathering, you're hunting, and the thing is, you don't know what you're going to find, or you don't know if you're going to find an animal to kill that day for your dinner. And then when you do, it must be such a good feeling, and a teamwork thing as well, and to come home and to be like, yes, we've brought dinner home today. That connection with the food would have been so much more, because it was so much more of an effort to get it. And I would like to think as well that we would have appreciated the circle of life a little bit more, the fact that you're sacrificing one life for another. I would like to think that would be more the case, which today we've not got any connection to that at all. It's all packaged up. You don't, especially with meat and things. I mean, it barely resembles anything like its true, like its former form. And in actual fact, I think most people would be put off if you said to someone, "You've got to now prepare your food from this." I think they would probably put them off. So there's such a disconnect from that. So I think there's something in that for sure that we've lost, and I don't see how we could get that back.
Absence, like evaporating grocery stores all over the planet. But I would challenge that there's probably a simple step toward it, which is making our meals. Like absolutely. Really making our meals. And that doesn't have to be the whole thing, soup to nuts on day one. I can just speak from my own personal experience that my husband and I have been working for years, and he has been teaching himself to cook. He's an amazing chef at this point. He does the cooking, I do the baking. But in that experience, as we continue to cultivate that curiosity of what can I do now? And what could I do now? And now I can make this meal. And now I'm good at this. Now I bake all the bread in our house. He's doing all the cooking. He's actually gotten pretty good at butchering, maybe not the whole shebang, but we reduce the tallow. We then cook, right? Like we just keep micro shifting towards, okay, I can consciously use and work with my food in a way that it does. I think it really infuses so much into the meal you're eating at the same time. And
Yeah.
while it may not be excessive, physical exertion, it is an effort to bring the food into existence to eat.
Yep.
And that is a huge step that I think we've lost even more recently, to your point about the food arriving at my door and I consume it. And it's just
Yep.
a mechanism to keep going when it's not even the one that we really need,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
No,
Yeah.
no, I love that,
Yeah.
because even if we do cook these days, it's normally something you throw in an air fryer or a
Yeah.
microwave. It's all a bit too simple. Whereas, you go back a few generations, and it would have
Yeah.
been a real thing. You would have, as you said,
Yeah.
like what you're doing essentially
Yeah.
is you're cooking proper meals,
Yeah.
and you start to appreciate as well, like as you say, with with animals, for example, you then appreciate each individual part of the animal. You said about tallow there, how you use the tallow as, and
Yeah.
it's I love that. I think that if we could get back to a place where we are cooking, it doesn't necessarily have to be every single night, but
Right.
most nights, especially at a weekend perhaps, and that we actually do
Yeah.
it properly, and also seasonally as well. I'm a big fan of
Yes.
seasonal eating,
Yes.
because I do think that eating the food in the time that it would be ready to be eaten
Yeah.
is um,
Huge.
yeah, definitely, and more in line with how we would have experienced food. So
Yeah.
for sure.
I think each of those doorways opens more doors, right? That
Yeah,
nope, I don't have to cook every single meal from scratch day one, but can I do something? Can I explore a little bit further? Oh, I could make salad. I think so much of it is actually like it's funny because as we've moved through this process, and candidly, like I come from a family where everything came out of jars, cans, plastic containers, yada, yada, yada. And he has been the one that's pushed me a lot more of, well, we're not eating apples right now because apples are out of season and they don't
yeah,
taste good. And I'm like, what?
yeah, yeah,
Right. And so we move through our fruit seasonally. And, now, yes, it's so exciting. It's berry season, or it's
yeah,
so exciting. The watermelons are finally here. Right. And
yeah, yeah,
just that subtle appreciation for the fruit at peak season even
yeah,
makes a difference too, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it
That's
tastes
great.
different. Oh, wow. I can taste it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree completely. I mean, this whole thing of having um, every fruit and vegetable from around the world at any time of the year isn't just not normal. It's just not the way
Yeah.
we would have been, So yeah, this whole eating the rainbow and all of this, I've
Yeah.
always questioned that when this sort of people say you should eat as much fruit and vegetables, eat the rainbow and all this. I just think, well, it wouldn't have been available, especially in the
Yeah.
winter months. It just wouldn't have been there. So
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of look forward. This is my own kind of next step in this evolution, but I had a friend share something with me about spruce trees and how they would have been how we would have gotten vitamin C in the winter time in colder climates. And this concept that there's actually a lot more food out your front door than you think that there is,
yeah, yeah,
and the nutrients and the bioavailability of all those things at different seasons. So it's kind of the thing that I'm like, oh, I get to walk through a new door now and kind of
yeah.
explore that. And I think that's all I think intermittent fasting asks of us is, can you start to think a little bit differently about how we incorporate food into our life? And
Yep.
I love how you said, then you're in control of the food rather than the food in control of you. And I think that's a shift that most people would prefer to have because they're likely frustrated by all the um, uh, like I've lost the word,
Overwhelm or the confusion.
no, just the things that happen down the slide. I can't come up with the right word of, okay, I feel bloated, or I have like all the issues at the end of that problem, right? Rather than the food controlling them. I think that to think that the two things are connected and they can actually take the power back and be able to shift it for themselves
Yeah.
pretty quickly feels really appealing.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. So my next question and thought is, one of the things that struck me as so obvious and dumb, and yet at the same time, wow, the world has really manipulated my thoughts, is breakfast.
Yep.
Break fast.
Yep.
And as soon as I heard the word differently, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, breakfast isn't a morning thing. It is when I choose to consume food for the first time.
Yep.
And that disassociation from breakfast food, even though I think some of the food originally was the right intention of how we break our fast, right? Though that's been co-opted as well. Reorienting myself around, I can have breakfast at noon or at dinner time or once a day or whatever that is.
Yep.
So let's talk about breakfast, breaking our fast.
Yep. Okay.
How are there things that we should be thinking about are the most supportive for us to break the fast?
Mm-hmm.
Let's reframe breakfast to it can be anytime, and how should we be thinking about this truly?
Yeah, I think this is important because you need to complement the eating window with the fasting window. You know, you don't think that you could go and fast for 16 hours and then you can go and eat a load of junk, you know, because of it. You can reward yourself with that, you know, because again, you're just going to set yourself up for a foul. And to be honest, if you went and ate a load of cake or something really sugary as your breakfast, as for breaking the fast, you're just going to send your blood sugar levels crazy. So I would say that it should be protein based and it should be healthy fat based.
Okay.
So eggs and avocados, salmon, you know, smoked salmon. I mean, ultimately, the advice that I give people, again, it's that same sort of scenario where I'd say, imagine yourself. What I actually say to people is, imagine that you went to bed tonight and you woke up in the morning and you woke up in a cave. And it turned out that this world of today was just some crazy dream, right? Well, what would then be available if you had your main mission is to not get eaten and to find something to eat? What would be available to you? And it's essentially real food. So if you ask yourself that question, if you pick something up or go to order something and you say, would that have been available? If it's a no, it's probably not great for you, I imagine.
Yeah.
And so I would stick with that really. I would stick with to break the fast. I would try not to have too much in the way of certainly sugary stuff. If you stick with real foods, I think you're going to be fine, to be honest with you. Even if you had some starchy vegetables, you should be fine. But definitely, I think try and keep to some protein and healthy fats. And when I say healthy fats, I don't mean seed oils. Stay well clear of seed oils. They are the work of the devil.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean like healthy fats as in just natural, whether it's olive oil, you know, plant-based would be olive oil, avocado oil maybe, or you know, don't fear the animal fats. We've been eating them for millennia. So you know, that's kind of what I would suggest. And then the same as well coming into the fast. The other end, I would also say a similar thing. You don't want to be eating something that's got high carbs. You know, it just helps with that transition to try and keep the blood sugar levels stable, and it just helps. And then when you go into your fast, you're going to have a much better chance of making it through the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as there's a lot of stuff out there, if the thing that I hear when you say all of that is a line that has still remained in the eating space of just protein being a solid base and an energy provider for longer periods of time, right? And
Yeah.
while there's a lot more complexity to it than that, it's
Yeah.
also, if I'm not going to eat for a long time, what am I going to give myself to feel like I can make it? well, I'm not going to choose the cereal box or the
Yep.
cookies because even if I'm just brand new to this, there's a good solid chance that that protein is going to help your body sustain itself over a period of time. So
Yep.
anchor into that, and that helps you at least start to make the transitions into these longer stretches of windows.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And
Yeah.
I think I would actually say that it's important that if you're not eating a good diet, and what I mean by that is fake food, essentially, and you're probably thinking of intermittent fasting to try and offset that,
Mm.
I would sort of steer you away from it. Really, I think you need to get your diet first, get your diet right first.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting should be supplementary to diet,
Mm.
you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you're only gonna you're not really going to get the benefits. I don't think you're going to cancel out the benefits, and it's going to be a world of pain, really.
Yeah.
It's going to be torture for you. So I
Yeah.
would suggest get your diet right first, then consider intermittent fasting.
You had mentioned this at one point. Is there a nuance to that that's like, I can't seem to kick these cravings or, this sugar craving that I'm still having in this, like my diet's okay, but can I utilize intermittent fasting to help my body remove some of those like cravings that kind of come from those dopamine effects from the just incessant sugar that I might be intaking without even realizing it? Is there not that if I'm only eating processed food and sugars, maybe I'm not quite ready to jump into that, but I'm curious from a cravings perspective.
Yeah, I think because it's difficult with that because it becomes very psychological. Like there's much more involved in the brain with some people with food. It's a crutch for other things as well. So sometimes it can be a bit more than just eating.
Yeah.
It's an escape from something. So there might be some other issues going on that's
Yeah.
kind of beyond what I'm able to give advice on.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, I mean, if you're determined and you're trying to break out of those cravings,
Mm-hmm.
give it a go. Again, as I say, listen to your body.
Yeah.
If you want to give it a go and it works for you, then great.
Yeah.
Crack on. But
Yeah.
uh,
It's
yeah,
smart to be.
it's a difficult question
Yeah.
because I mean I've seen it before where some people they've it's more than just eating the wrong foods, eating too much food. There is some psychological stuff going
Mhm.
on there that
Yeah.
needs a bit more than intermittent fasting to try and break out of that. If you like.
Sure. Yeah. And I love how you kind of said, kind of the sense that I got was don't try to justify your poor eating with intermittent fasting, right? You can't just
Yeah,
do this to make this okay. That's not really what this is designed for. And
yeah,
your diet is supporting your ability to do this while it's supporting your ability to have a good diet,
yeah,
right? And to work with your body the way so it can help and support and heal. And
yeah,
oh yeah, when you go into the benefits, and I mean that's what drives me to want to do those things, because when I immediately think about if I'm hungry or I'm not hungry right now, but ooh, my body's like cleaning things up for me right now, like yeah,
yeah,
I want to give it the space and time to
yeah.
do that, like of course I do.
Yeah, no, I love that as well. Yeah, actually understanding what the body's doing
Mhm.
is great because when you do get that hunger pang, you kind of think, yeah, but that means that I'm not going to be allowing it to, get rid of these dead cells and all these good things. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. That's a great way of thinking about it actually, and it could be a way of sort of pushing through. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I also, it very much reframed for me learning kind of the deeper science of that when our body's not hungry, it's okay.
hmm
Um, I've had some family members that have moved through some pretty significant health challenges or surgeries and things like that. And one of the things that, oh, well, I'm just not hungry yet. I'm just not hungry. I'm not hungry. Now, there's a lot of different reasons for that. And I'm not saying that this is across the board, but I think it was actually really powerful for me to learn that when your body's in healing mode, it
Yeah.
doesn't want to interrupt
Yeah.
that for digestion purposes if it doesn't need to, right? Like trust it.
Yeah.
And so I've offered that advice of there's a lot of noise out there that, oh, well, you need to be eating, you need to be eating. Instead, it's actually like probably the way it was a long time ago is when you started to eat, oh, everybody relieved because they knew your body was moving out of
Good
the
sign. Yeah.
healing phase, right?
Yeah.
And that instead of you trying to push yourself to get to the hunger, allow your body, like it's doing good things right now, just allow it to do what it's meant to do. It will turn hunger back on for you when it's ready for that.
Yeah, definitely. I have experienced that.
Yeah.
It's very normal for people to say, "Oh, are you making sure you're eating when you've been ill?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm not really." "Oh, you must eat something. You got to have something, even a bit of toast. Have something." and I've always thought, well, really, like if you, as you say, like, and it makes sense when you think about the health benefits. The body is trying to repair, so the last thing it wants is to be dealing with some food at that point. It doesn't want to be digesting food. It's trying to fix yourself. So, and as you say, I love that as well. I haven't thought about that. Is that when someone then surfaces and says, "I'm actually hungry now," it's like, "Oh, you're on the mend." You're getting back to some normality. And as I say, it's a good sign.
Yeah. And we don't need to push it, right? Like it will know, it will do the thing. It will do it.
I always say, listen to your body. Your body knows best. All you have to do is just listen to it. And that's what I say with this intermittent fasting is beyond the kind of hunger pangs. If you're feeling really bad, take notice of that. Don't push through because your body is trying to tell you something. And it is a thing. If your body's not used to it, you've got to work with it because it is going to struggle a little bit because it's all new. It's kind of like, what are you doing here? You're not feeding me food. Like, what's going on? And so it has to get used to that as well. So yeah, definitely listen to your body. That is one thing that I definitely recommend to people.
Yeah, I love that. As you're saying that about listening to it, but also reminding yourself that if it's never done this before, it might say, whoa, this is new, because it does look into the recent past to say what's normal, to project what we should be doing going forward. But can you actually be your body's own coach, right? That, okay, I see you got this. Rather than like, I know you can do it, to help it reclaim and remember in those moments. That's advanced stuff for sure. Like building that connection with your body and just tuning in and listening is certainly the first step. But that was kind of the thought that came up as you were saying that build a partnership so that you can see when it's like having a hard time, but it can do it, versus, oh, it's telling me something that I need to listen to. How do I start to build that dialogue? Yeah.
I mean, it's having awareness, isn't it? You're having an awareness of your own body. It's a big thing to understand. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but it's a big thing to understand that your thoughts are there as a tool. They're not. They don't need to guide you. They're a tool, so you can observe those thoughts and decide whether or not they're helpful or not. And and that's just about having an awareness of yourself, your body, and your thoughts.
Yeah. So true. So true. It's such an important connection to be able to make and cultivate. Truly, it's a relationship in and of itself. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So as we wrap up here, any thoughts or things that we didn't touch on that's important for people to understand as they kind of engage in this relationship and figuring out how to work with their body around intermittent fasting?
Well, I suppose something that we didn't really touch on is what you can have during your intermittent fast.
Yes. Great.
We didn't really kind of touch on that, did we? I mean, obviously, it's fairly restricted. That goes without saying. So you can't obviously have food. I think a lot of people can be surprised that think they generally think that drink is okay. Fasting is more of a food thing, but it's anything that the body is going to have to process and digest to any large extent. So obviously water, sparkling water is fine. Pinch of salt is fine. Having some electrolytes in there is obviously good. Although I wouldn't have like an element or something like that. I would perhaps have that during the eating window, not in the fasting window. But a pinch of salt in your water. Tea and coffee is fine, but it's got to be black, and there's no sweetener and no milk or creamer or almond milk or anything like that. It's got to be black. But coffee can be a lifesaver. If you're sort of thinking, oh my God, I'm really struggling here. For me, at least, coffee it's allowed me to really power through. So if you're into coffee or tea as well, again, that can really sort of push you through. So the other one that is a bit controversial, you'll hear some people say that it's fine, and then other people say it's a big no, is bone broth. Now, I love bone broth. Bone broth is very nutritious. And I personally don't think that if you can steer clear of it during your fast, I think that there are a lot of nutrients and goodness in there, and that makes me think that the body will have to process that. So it's probably going to knock you out of your fast. That said, if you are struggling and you need something, it could be a little tip just to help push you through. I'm not saying that you should make it a habit, but if you're kind of like really like I need to eat, maybe that cup of bone broth will just push you through and help you get to that to the end of the window. So that would be something some guidelines there to work to for sure. Other than that, I think it's just about hope. I hope that this will help people to appreciate that it's not something to be scared of. The body actually wants to have these periods of no digestion, to be able to do its kind of like its cleaning of the cells, its spring cleaning, and all of the other health benefits that you get. Just have that. Hopefully, it will change your mindset on that, and give you a bit of confidence going in. So that's kind of like my big takeaway, I think, from that. I mean, there are lots of other things we could talk about. It becomes so I think you touched on it earlier. For women, there are certain things you got at certain times during the menstrual cycle. You got to be sort of perhaps you got to be a little bit more forgiving of yourself if you feel like you need to break the fast. If you're in the menopause phase of your life, that kind of changes things as well. Fortunately for men, it's a little bit more straightforward. The hormone levels are pretty constant. But definitely when you go into when you're in menopause, and if you put on weight, for example, when you're in the menopause phase, and I'm not like an expert in hormones at all here, but I'm just saying, be a little bit careful, because when your hormones are all over the place like that, and your body is holding on to fat, and you go into intermittent fasting when you should be going into fat burning mode, your body might spare the fat in lieu of muscle and bone. So you've just got to be careful there. So I'll definitely work with someone like a hormone specialist, a functional medicine doctor, or just your healthcare practitioner. Just be a little bit careful in that respect. We could carry on going on forever about it, really, but I think we've covered most bases, to be honest.
I know, but I do love that qualification, right? Because everybody is different, and there certainly are differences between men and women's bodies just in chemical makeup and how we operate. I once heard men are the sun and women are the moon, right? And so it's like just thinking about that reminds you that there's just a difference, not better or worse. It's just a difference in how they operate. And so it comes back to like listening to your body. If it doesn't feel like it's working in this moment and things feel off, consult somebody, get some extra support so that you are working with your body as it's intended. No matter what phase of life that happens to be, if it doesn't seem to be progressing as you would have expected, then take a beat and talk to somebody about that. And I think that makes so much sense. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's so many good things about this, and the thought that's come up for me in this last couple of pieces, if we could leave everybody with one thing, is that such a simple concept, but I always explained it to my son, of the guys in your body that come out and will heal your boo-boos at night, right? They come out of your body. It was a whole story. They come out of your belly. But I've always, that visual has always worked for me, because especially when it comes to intermittent fasting, when I started learning about that, because, oh, if those guys that are supposed to, if it's me, right, cooking, and I'm cooking in the kitchen, and I'm cooking meals, and I'm cooking meals, and I'm cooking meals, and I'm always cooking meals, I'm never cleaning the kitchen. When do I get a chance to like clean the kitchen, clean the dishes, do the thing? And you might be able to do that for a little while, because you're doing the best you can. You clean the dish as you need it, right? But if you never take that chance to like close the loop, allow it to step away, and for the cleaning process to happen, you're just kind of in this frantic loop. And so I think about those guys in my body of, I don't want to overwhelm them with just constantly giving them only a smidge of their job to do, when they have all this capacity of what they can do if I work through them. And I think you shared so much of that wisdom throughout this entire conversation of listening, reminding ourselves this is natural and normal, and our body it may need a little bit of a pep talk to get it back into that mode, but it's possible, and it's good for us too.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like you could flip it and say that by not having those windows of not digesting, you're depriving your body of doing the things to keep you just like a foundation. It's not even optimal health, it's just foundational health. So actually feeding all the time is preventing your body from doing what it needs to do. So you could look at it in that sense as well. Your body needs it, really.
Yes. I once heard something to the effect of, when you're not feeding your body starts to go, what do I need to clean up so that the body can go get the food, gets the energy, gets the builds the muscle, fixes the sprain or whatever that is. And so your body moves into this like, I need to get food. So how am I giving the body everything it needs to be able to accomplish that task? And that was such a mind shift for me of, oh yeah, why would I deprive my body of that mode or that effort that it's doing for me to actually make my body more effective in what it's meant to do?
But this is the other thing that has kind of got me thinking, that when you think about ketosis, which is when your body is depleted of all of its carbohydrates, all of its glucose, and then you start using fat for fuel, and that's probably because you haven't eaten for a while. Well, how handy would it be if you had increased energy and increased brain function, and you're sharper and you're on it because you've got to go out there and get your food. I mean, kind of works, doesn't it? It seems like as if it was meant to be, maybe.
Right. Shocking. Huh. If I were to have designed this system this way, when it needs something, it provides the energy, the capacity, the clarity, all the sensory systems to be able to accomplish the goal. And it seems like that's what it's doing, right?
Mother Nature, she's very clever. Very clever.
So smart. So smart. I loved this. This is an amazing conversation. I know this is going to help so many people. Jim, I'd love for you to share where people can find you, how they could offer or learn more from you, should they be interested.
Okay, so I've got a website where I write a lot of content about all of this sort of stuff, about diet. My principle is that I think that there's two foundational pillars, or two pillars for foundational health, which is how we refuel and how we recharge. So what we eat, how often we eat, and how we sleep and rest and meditate, that sort of stuff. And so I've got a lot of content on my site about that, and it's all essentially my main goal is to help people to regain their health. And it's not about telling people, I think I've heard you say this, it's not about telling people what to do, like eat this diet, eat that food, do that. I'm trying to give people the tools to figure it out for themselves. Because in this world, there is, as we've said, there's so much overwhelm, there's so much confusion. So my goal is just to help people use the brains that we've been blessed with to just question things, because we don't question things a lot of the time. So I've gone off on a tangent. My website, jimajackson.com. A lot of content on there. I've also got, I have to remind myself of my socials. 1 second, let me get this up. So I'm on Instagram as jim.a.jackson, and on Facebook I'm just on there as Jim Jackson, actually, I think. So you can find me on there, and I've got threads as well as Jim A. Jackson as well, jim.a.jackson. So I think they're the best places to find me. As well as in your community, I believe.
In the Human Array, absolutely. The Holistic Health Hub, absolutely, absolutely. And we will be sure to have all those links in the description so that people can connect and find more of your amazing resources, because I've truly enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you so much for being here and taking us through the basics, but also going really into the benefits and how to access this, because I think it's just the tip of the iceberg once you start to dabble into intermittent fasting and really building that connection.
Absolutely. And I will add as well that within my page in your community, I will have a couple of downloads, fasting downloads. I'm just finalizing them at the moment, but I'll have them uploaded soon so people can download those. It will be basically I'll do a long form kind of guide, helping people through that and giving them all the information they need. And then I was going to do a short form guide as well, just as a quick reference. Kind of recommend that they download both of them, read the long form one first, and then just as a quick reference for the shorter one, the one pager, essentially. So.
Awesome. Oh, I love that. I love great resources and them being accessible and easy to find. So that's my jam. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye.